Fear and Hunger has been on my list of games to beat since I picked up and finished Fear and Hunger Termina. I'm not the best at RPGs, but my stubbornness knows no bounds. Hello everyone, my name is Terrible, and this is how I beat Fear and Hunger. My first attempt went a little like this. I walked into the entrance, I met some dogs, and I immediately died. Did I mention I was playing on Terror Starvation? That's a harder difficulty. I think the dogs can only get in the dungeon if you're playing on Terror Starvation. Well, whatever. Let's start up a new run, and hopefully we can get a little bit farther than that. I ended up picking Kahara because he looks the most like me. You do an intro after you pick your character where you can, like, customize your character how you want, get some abilities and stuff. I'm not going to go too into that, but these are the abilities that I chose. Out of these abilities, I would say Dash, for sure, is the most important ability. For my first few runs, I did not use Dash, but moving fast is so important in this game. Escape Plan and Steal are more just like personal abilities that I wanted to try out. They seem like the best thing Kahara had going for me. But yeah, let's go straight back into that dungeon, yo. Turns out you're supposed to go left instead of straight. Pardon me, I guess. Since we're playing on Terror and Starvation, there's a lot of small changes that actually end up being fairly important. First change that greatly impacts the game is that you're going to need a torch to be able to see anything in the dungeons of Fear and Hunger. If you don't got a torch, you are pretty screwed. I mean, you can maybe find your way around, but it's pretty annoying. The next big change is that sometimes when you open crates for food, they are rotten. I think it's something like a 25% chance, don't quote me on that. And yeah, rotten food will poison you, which is horrible. So it's kind of RNG if you get good food or not. As for the last big thing, enemies deal more damage and have more health, and you have a reduced chance to escape. This change just kind of generally makes everything more difficult, which, whatever. Here's the rest of the changes if you want to like pause the video and look at it, but that's enough for the preamble. Wish me luck in the dungeons of Fear and Hunger. As we explore the basement, we see our first armory. This is when we get introduced to flipping coins. When you open certain things, you flip a coin, and if you fail, you get nothing. If you succeed, then you get an item from whatever loot table is thrust upon you. In this case, I got a plate mail because I did the coin flip on a little armor stand. There is some guaranteed items, but for the most part, everything is randomized. And honestly, that's one of my favorite parts of the game. I know I've been explaining a lot of stuff, but from now on, I'll only explain stuff as we see it in the game. While exploring a bit, I did find this jelly man. He's kind of cursed to look at. But I just used my escape plan run to get away. While exploring, I did find this absolute unit, and I decided not to fight him, because I'm pretty sure I'd die. I also did find this bed, which I could have saved, but I chose not to. I'm risking it for the biscuit. Not too far away, we actually found some stairs leading to the prisons. Very bloody. We also got some of these like weird like flying gremlins floating around. I just kind of avoided them and was just looting the whole place. I was feeling pretty confident, so I ended up trying a guard fight. This is how it went down. Let's see. Okay. Go to attack, take his right arm, and it appears my left arm has been cut off. Currently have no hands, and I'm doing a coin flip. We managed to exceed the coin flip. Got his arm off, but his Pikachu killed me. Actually appears that I'm not quite dead, but I'll do the one thing I'm good at. Quit breathing. Now, since I didn't save her back to the grind, I have to slowly but surely go through every pickup barrel. Everything. Re-picking it up. I decided to keep this segment in the video just to show you like how often you have to like search through items and get through enemies. Go over the same ground. Like if you're just starting the game, it could be kind of daunting. Knowing that if you don't find a save in time, you're just going to be going through like 50 or so items before you're like re-equipped. And like a lot of these items actually matter. Like you need food, you need torches, you know, healing items. This game isn't for the faint of heart, that's for sure. If you're liking the video, don't forget to subscribe. And Like the video if you like the video. Let me know just in general that you're enjoying the content. So yeah, back to the game. After going through the prison, I found the flesh room. Not sure what that's about. But it wrapped around to the inner hall, which I think that is where the entrance is connected to. Once you get to the doorway, you get some options. I choose to hide just because I don't know what's going on. This little doofus comes up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gonna try to kill me, so I didn't aggro him. I'll save that for later. After that, I decided to explore a little more, and I accidentally clicked on the flesh wall. I guess there's a little dude in there. He made the noise. He made the noise. Time to leave. After that encounter, I take this little like Bloodborne elevator down, and now we're in the caverns. A lot of bodies here. It feels really desolate down here. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Very dark, but find an altar you can pray to. Works like Termina, then we get affinity from these altars, and then we can use that to get better spells later. I'm not entirely sure what triggers it, but I end up fighting the Cave Mother. And yeah, that goes about as good as you can expect. And guess what? I didn't save. Let's go. I did find a little girl in a cage near the entrance, so that's cool, I guess. Time to rebuild. I did find my first bookshelf near the entrance, which was nice. Bookshelves can be one of the best places to get items. They got books that give you like crafting recipes. They got books that give you magic. There's a book that lets you save the game. All very important. Getting some good books early on definitely can make your run much more powerful. Another interesting thing I found was the Hexen. The Hexen lets you use soul stones to get spells. We need lesser souls, which I don't have. We need like affinity with a god, which I also don't have. So it's kind of useless for now, but you can get spells in the future from here. I ran out of stuff to do in the main area, so I ended up exploding little Trotor right here. Rat bastard. Also in the entrance, I found Enki's in this little library. He doesn't want anything to do with us for now. We'll save him for later. Also, if you unlock this secret bookshelf, you get to go to the backyard and talk to Ragnvaldr. He also doesn't want anything to do with us, so we'll just leave him for later. Now that I killed Trotor, I had the ability to just like wander around in the beginning of the game and just test a bunch of stuff. So I ended up fighting these guys, testing out the bow and arrow, see what that does. And I figured out that you can steal books of enlightenment from these priests, which is at least pretty good for the beginning of the game. Books of enlightenment let you save the game wherever you want, but they can only be used once, so they're pretty handy if you want to like grind out an area or like have a good shot at a boss. Now that I actually got a good run going, I finally can save. Not that you can see that because I ran out of torches, but I swear to you, I'm saving right now. I'm fighting that bad. I'm saving. Look at me. Look at me go. At this point, I think I've explored everything I can in like the first couple areas, so now I'm back in the caverns. And you get to fight this little dog, Moonless. What's interesting about Moonless is that it has like dialogue options. You can actually like give it meat. And yeah. And now we get our first party member. Let's go. I'm definitely feeling a lot safer now that we finally found our first party member. I also found the connecting area, the caverns. I don't know, I was looking at like a lot of books that I was having. I was just kind of having a good old time, and I did not expect this to happen. Of course, it's the frickin' Chrome Mauler. I'm gonna do the only thing I know how to do. Run away. I'm so glad that succeeded. A little further up ahead, you find a door that you can get open with a red vial. And, ooh, shiny. Oh, I got done. God, shit. Let's see if I can run away from this salmon snake. Uh-oh. You may have noticed that I've already killed off Moonless. I guess you shouldn't trust me with dogs. And you know my luck with coin flips. Of course I miss it, and I get freaking crabbed. Time to load my only save. After that failure, I regained my bearings, got moonless again, and here I am, a little farther into the caverns. Here's a yellow mage. Yellow mages can be kind of annoying because they learn magic, and a lot of the magic in the Fear and Hunger game, especially in Termina, can just blow your arms off or whatever. Look at that. Look at that. Moonless lost her paw. Mostly you can, if you knock their limbs off, you can stop them from doing magic, so that's nice. I end up examining the caverns a little bit more, and you can like attack this armor. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I just immediately got wiped after this, so I lost my progress again. So I got back to this area again, killed that yellow mage, did a sick dodge, and boom, finally in a new area again. Let's go. Up here is where we find another one of the recruitable characters. Darcy? Dark? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm American, yeehaw. I'm gonna use my American language. So jokes aside, we have to kill this little freak, this cave dweller. He's not too hard, but he's like just fully naked, so that's cool. After that fight, we can recruit Darcy to our party. Feels in debt to you, so it's pretty easy to recruit her. Found another yellow mage a little ways ahead. If you don't attack them right away, they'll just kind of blow off your limbs from afar, so engaging the fight's pretty important. But now we have 4 members, so we can pretty much just get rid of this yellow mage in 1 turn cycle. We did find this like whole cave dweller village, but there wasn't much here except just loot for now. So we're just gonna go down this rope. We can go to a different area. Finally, progress. I yearn for the mines. In the mines, there's a bunch of cannibals where you can like eat body parts for health. So that's cool. We're gonna skip over them because they're all naked. Also in the mines, there's these little like ghosts. Do not engage with them. Do not fight. If they use like one of their attacks on you, they'll like age you. You can just become decrepit that way. Other than that, it's kind of just a little maze you have to get through without getting into many fights. Also, there's just like another crow mauler in this area, or the same one, maybe? I don't know, whatever. But he is a pain in my ass. This is what he is. He just beat up my little girl. So getting away from him is kind of a problem. If you are lucky enough to dodge all those enemies, you finally get to the catacombs. And this gives you a shortcut to the prison area once you like climb all these stairs. This place is one of the most annoying parts to get to, in my opinion. But it does feel really good once you can finally find your way back to the areas you know where you can save. Well, too bad I didn't do that. I decided to like stop halfway up the stairs and continue to explore. And yeah, look at this shit show that I walked into. And there's a crow mauler, yep. Yeah. Needless to say if you know about the crow mauler, but I did not survive this encounter. So after that death, I ended up exploring the cave dwellers village a little bit more, and I found an item called the Cube of Depths. It seems important. A little bit further up, we found this giant creature with a mouth. It seems kind of important as well. After some crisp dodging and taking a lot of time to retrace my steps, I finally get to this doorway. Funny story, I really did not read my story well for my character. And one of my main goals for my character is to find this person that is killed here. So this person is Lagarde, and Kahara's journey is to find Lagarde and bring him out of the Dungeon of Fear and Hunger for a bounty for his wife, so he can have money and whatever. Yeah, I completely missed that part of the story. I think it's my ADHD brain, probably. Well, whatever. If I end up breaking this run somehow, I'll try to get to Lagarde before he dies. So look forward to that. A little bit north of Lagarde, we find a door that opens with the Cube of Depths. So that's what that does. Once we get inside, we find the ancient city, the Tomb of the Gods. This is the farthest I've gotten up to this point. Still haven't saved for a while. So I'm going to try to be really careful. This part of the ancient city is a little dark. It seems like there's some puzzles to do at some points. Also, this little freak is shooting poison darts at me. It's a little scary just walking around and you don't know what's going on, bro. We ended up fighting this body snatcher guy, the one that was shooting the darts. He wasn't too bad. We ended up finishing him off after 2 rounds. And we find our way to the passages of the ancient city. This whole area is dark and foreboding. Kind of unpleasant in general. Yeah, a little spooky. Everything is old and decrepit. There isn't much usable materials. And just up the stairs, we end up finding this little, like, golem guy. They're protecting this doorway. I don't end up talking to him because I'm scared of a fight, and I still haven't saved in forever. I also ended up messing with his beacon with the Cube of Depths. And it said to me, "Do the past," I guess. Everything's slightly less spooky, more eerie. Still unsettling at the least. I guess I'm gonna explore a bit. What we got in here? Oh, we got a little thing. I'm just gonna not. So yes, this is the ancient city Mahabre. For pretty much the next like 10 minutes, I'm just like clicking on every single thing that it's possible to click on, trying to get items. And I finally get my way to the tower and a bed to save. Could finally save! Just freaking kidding. I thought you could save here, but you have to be in the future version of Mahabre, the ancient city. You end up sleeping in the past version of Mahabre. You go into this dream. So, cool. Let's go. In this dream, we see visions of our fellow party members. We see Enki up on this weird angel cross thing. We see my wife as a prostitute. We see Ragnvaldr on a battlefield. We finally end up in a small house at the edge of Uldegard. I don't know if you could tell, but this is a boss fight. I honestly haven't gone much into the combat in this video so far. It has some, what's the word, intricacies that make the difficulty kind of interesting. First of all, if an enemy has limbs, you can attack the limbs, and the same is true for the player character. Attacking the limbs has different effects depending on if it's an enemy or a player. If one of the player's arms gets cut off, for example, you won't be able to use anything in that arm. And if you were to get your leg chopped off, you wouldn't be able to walk as fast, for obvious reasons, of course. For enemies, it's a little bit different. For enemies, you lock off certain attacks when you knock off their limbs. Like, for example, a magic move or a giant swing sometimes will be locked off by getting a limb cut off. And that's the main crux and strategy of this game, is when to focus down a body part and when to, you know, protect your character from getting, you know, a giant attack on one of your limbs. You can also attack something's head. Usually if you attack the head of a creature, it's kind of like a critical hit or something similar. Does a lot of damage. And if the player character gets their head hit, usually you just kind of instantly die. Another core game mechanic, I would say, is the flipping of coins. It works a tad differently than the flipping of the coins for items. Usually before a giant attack, an enemy will say, oh, it's doing X and Y. And after that turn, that creature will do that move, and it'll be a coin flip move. You pick a side of the coin. If you fail, typically you die or just get absolutely destroyed in some way. You can also guard these moves using the guard option if you want to play it safe. But if you're feeling lucky, you can always test your fate and get your little girl's face ripped off. In this fight, I was poisoned at half health, lost a coin flip, and unprepared wildly. This was pretty much destined to fail, but I had no way to get out of the dream without defeating the granny. So yeah, didn't have much of a chance here. Since I died again, and lost a lot of progress again, I decided to roam around and to find new stuff, if I could. I found out here you can use an explosive vial to find this like secret little area. It's called the Thicket, and it kind of works like a little maze where you're trying to traverse and find these little secret paths. There's not much going on except all these like weird ambient noises. And there was like, it didn't seem like there was anywhere to go. So I just kept like clicking on the walls. And I finally found like this little like secret entrance. Let you go further into the thicket. We got these like weird little enemies I don't know how to describe. And if you touch these little dark spots and you miss a coin flip, you actually fall down to a different floor. First thing I noticed in this floor is a giant sword in the ground, and so I was very tempted to pick it up. And so I did. This sort of eastern ghostly figure shows up, but I just kind of immediately ran away and it was fine, so whatever. See ya! Follow the thicket down a bit more, you find these mysterious organs that you can stab. Kind of hints that there's more of these organs, so maybe we can kill enough of them and something will happen. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. When you finally fall to the final level of the thicket, you end up in the catacombs where you found the guard's body. There's also just another organ down here that I completely missed. I ended up reading all the books I had in my possession, just to try to get as much lore in as possible. I ended up reading the Passages of Mahabre. This book sends you to Mahabre a bit early, and you end up seeing these 4 gods of Mahabre, these new gods. No doubt we'll be seeing them in the future. After a bit of time, we wake up from our slumber from the Passages of Mahabre, back to where we last set foot. After a little bit more of discovery, I found this mysterious sword that is stuck in this stone. I ended up pulling it a few times, and the whole cave collapsed. But we got the blue sin. I tried a few different ways of getting the blue sin, but the one that worked was grabbing the blue sin and then immediately using the Passages of Mahabre to get right out of there. So it teleported me out of that, and then when I came back, I was safe and sound. The last thing I tested before my big regroup was how empty scrolls work. To use an empty scroll, you need an empty scroll and a quill. It lets you write 3 specific lines of text. If you write out all 3 lines correctly, you get something in return. In this case, I wrote out, "Oh Lord, teach hurting," and it gave me the hurting spell for my character. So yeah, empty scrolls are very important, and they can give you some incredibly powerful items if you know what to search for. Now that I've done all that experimenting, it's time for my Lagarde arc. My goals are simple. I need to get to Lagarde in 30 in-game minutes. I need to pick up all the items between me and Lagarde, and I need to not die. Those are my goals. Pretty simple. Except it's not so simple, but I'll show you how I did it. First thing I need to do is pull this lever so I can get the Trotor later. The next thing I need to do is lure out Moonless and try not to take too much damage in this fight, and I need to be able to run away. After I run away, I need to scoot past Moonless, then go to the mines. Now that I'm in the mines, I need to run past this yellow mage and make sure I don't get the hurting spell cast on me. Next, I need to fight this yellow mage because I'm not confident in running past him, and I want all my limbs. The first thing I want to do is chop off his left leg, because that's what enables him to cast hurting. And then I'll slowly just chop off all his limbs until I can just finally defeat him, hopefully without taking much damage. Next, I need to dodge all these ghosts to make sure I don't get sucked dry. Next is the hardest part. I need to aggro this prison jailer, and I need to dodge this crow mauler and talk to Lagarde as fast as possible. Lagarde has lost his memory and he wants to join our party. And then we need to quickly dodge the crow mauler. We get kind of lucky. We were able to run against the crow mauler in the first try. Then a big problem arises. This guy is blocking me, and then I need to engage him in a fight just to run around him. Next, I lead Lagarde upstairs, unlock both shortcuts, and then I can finally frickin' save the game, brother. Let's go. In total, this Lagarde run took me about 12 tries, and it was in the span of about 2 hours. So yeah, put that into perspective. That is 2 hours I will never get back. Now the first order of business, after saving, we finally get the rest of our party members. We get Darcy. We end up getting Enki. He's in the room before Lagarde. If you have an Eclipse Talisman, you can recruit him there. And on the way, I get as many items as possible. And if I kill any enemies, I'll use soul stones on them so I can use them for magic later. Now that we've gone through all those steps, we finally have the god save. I have 4 party members, and I'm in like a prime position to fight any hard enemies and bosses. First order of business is going back to the thicket and getting the Eastern Sword. That was easy enough. After that, our next point of order is to get the blue sin. Both very powerful swords that I'll use later on for some trickier fights. After that, we get the Cube of Depths to get back into Mahabre, and then we finally get to the tower where we can save in Mahabre. Praise the Lord. In between this save and the last, I end up experimenting with spells, and I chose to teach myself Blood Portal. Blood Portal lets you take a portal from any 2 locations that have these runes, if you also set up a portal in that location. So it's a good way to, like, transport yourself without having to fully go through Mahabre. Set up a portal between the entrance and the ancient tower, just so I can get to the beginning if I need to. And we go back here so we can talk to Isaiah. Isaiah is a special little merchant NPC, and if you give him 50 coins, he'll give you a map that leads you to some treasure. And that treasure is kind of busted as hell. I'm not going to get into how you solve the treasure map, but what you do get is a scroll of transmutation, which is by far one of the most useful spells in this game. So what simple transmutation does is it lets you take 1 moldy bread and turn it into 3 moldy breads. So essentially you have infinite moldy bread as long as you have mana. It also lets you transmute water vials into wine vials, which wine vials give you mind, which is what you use to cast magic spells. So if you have a water source and an empty vial, like this water source near the salmon snake, you can fill up the empty vial with the water and make wine. So as long as you have empty vials, you can make wine, which give you mind. This is probably the best way to get mind other than just like alcohol. Now, since we're here, it's time to fight Salmon Snake. The way I beat this fight was I attacked its eye and blinded it. And after I blinded it, it didn't really know what to do, and I just kind of wailed on it. And it died immediately. It was really squishy. I think I'm very over-prepared for this part of the game. The next enemy I fought was the Old Knight. The trick to this fight is to destroy all its armor pieces, and after you destroy all of its armor pieces, it dies. So I just threw a few explosive vials at it, and it just died. Now the next order of business is to fight Granny. I ended up using the Book of Enlightenment so I can save, because I wasn't quite sure how to beat it. So I can have as many attempts as I want. I gathered 3 Books of Enlightenment, so I was pretty prepared for this moment. The first phase of Granny, I kind of just smack it until it turns into its little abomination. After Granny gets to her second phase, I try to just break all of her arms just so she can't do any extra moves. I just individually chop all her limbs off. After I chop all her limbs off, I throw a throwing knife at her to poison her. And then I use Flame Trick on Granny to give it the burn condition. So on its turn, it'll both take poison and burn, which stacking damage like that is very powerful. And after a few rounds of her not really doing much, and me just whacking her, she finally dies. We finally beat our first boss. It took us way too long, but we did it. After we defeat Granny, we see one of the new gods, Nilvan. Nilvan asks one simple request: to save their child and bring them to the heart of the darkness. I wonder which child they mean. Well, either way, if we accept, she gives us her endless soul. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this soul, but we have one. Now, my friends, we are in unfamiliar territory. After defeating Granny and wandering around Mahabre, the first thing I found is this little drop down. It leads to the underground cave. This underground cave leads to this sort of underground lab with a bunch of mannequins. When we find this machine, we can put some blood in it, and it makes a little clone of our dude. I don't know the ramifications of this, but now we got a little Kahara clone going around. The west side of Mahabre has mostly been untouched by me. I go back to the past, and I find this kind of grand staircase to this grand library. This is another area with a boss in it. Enki decides to stay back for a while to read, and then there's also these kind of like cursed-ass little embryo baby things that I hate. Yeah, so I just kill them. What's important about this library is actually just the books. It can give you so many good books that you've missed throughout the game, like maybe a healing book, lets you craft healing supplies, or more scrolls. There's a lot of good stuff you can find in here. To progress through this library, you have to solve this mannequin puzzle. I didn't know how to solve this, so I kind of just brute forced it. It took me quite a while. So I just kept changing the mannequins in different ways, and eventually found that this solution was the one that opens the doors. Enki rejoins the party, and we see this man jumping down into the darkness. As we see these cascading books around us, we're climbing down these ladders to find the eventual boss. This is Valtail. He is one of the other new gods, the Enlightened One. My strategy for this boss is to destroy his right side of the brain. The right side of the brain is what uses all of his magical attacks, while the left makes him use his headbutt. So getting rid of the right side of the brain is very strong. Eventually he grows this eye out of his head. And it'll cast a spell called Whispers of Grogroth, which in 5 turns, if you don't kill him within, your party will die. But at this point, we just focused him with all our powerful weapons, and he really didn't have a chance to kill us. Now that we've killed Valtail, we have the Enlightened Soul. We have 2 out of the 4 new god souls at this point. I guess that is our goal now, so we're finding them all. Still in the West District of Mahabra, we find the Temple of Torment. An area that seems abandoned and gloomy. This, no doubt, is another area where we're going to fight a boss. There isn't much in the Temple of Torment other than this guy screaming, but eventually we get to these hooks, and our little husk buddy shows up. We start torturing him immediately, and we have to give him primary pain and secondary pain. I have no idea what that means at all, but once we fill up both meters, we fight the boss of this area. Our husk's body explodes, and then it's a race back to the beginning of the level. The blood is flowing. Now we can finally fight the boss. This is Chambara, the Tormented One. He is one of the other new gods, and his whole thing is being tormented, I guess. To defeat Chambara's first phase, it was pretty simple. You just kind of whack on his arms, and then hit his body until he switches phases. On a side tangent, this phase of the boss really reminds me of the death machine from Silent Hill 4, The Room. For Chambara, you need to destroy his 3rd circle, then his 2nd circle, then his 1st circle. But for the 2nd phase, I ended up poisoning him and just doing consistent damage to his body. It was very nice. Other than that, I would just break the circles and throw explosive vials at him. It just seemed to work very well. After whacking him for a few minutes, I finally killed Chambara, the Tormented Soul. And I ended up getting his Tormented Soul. Another new god soul attained. Now that we have 3 of the new god souls, this little golem figurine thing lets us inside the Golden Temple. We're currently in the present when going through the Golden Temple, and we finally find the blast organ. We cut it open. We hear the screams of a beast in the background. Other than that organ, the only notable thing about the Golden Temple is the King's Passage Key. The King's Passage Key unlocks the Golden Temple in the past. Now we take a quick trip back to the past, and we go back to the Golden Temple. We're finally in the endgame. The Golden Temple is currently functional, and we have to like dodge these little flame pillars, or else we'll just get set on fire and die instantly. At the end of the Golden Temple waiting for us is Francois, the Dominating One, the final new god that stands in our way. He sits upon a throne, the throne that made him into a new god, and we must end him. The first phase of Francois is pretty simple, just slash off both of his limbs and then just wail on his body until he changes forms. Francois ends up going into this golden god form, which is a little bit more dangerous, but I have such overpowered items at this point with all the good swords and damage dealing items that I can just kill him in one cycle before he can really do anything. Now that we've killed Francois, we can sit on the throne and ascend godhood as a new god if we so choose. But it doesn't go as simply as just that. Lagarde has been lying to us this whole time. He truly does not have amnesia like we once thought. And he's just been using us up until this point, so that he may reach greater heights and become a new god. I don't really know what my goal is at this point, but I'm just gonna become a new god just so I can kill this bitch. Why not? When we awaken, we are in this pitch dark, desolate place. I guess this is where gods reside? I don't know, your guess is as good as mine. The first thing we have to do is find the rest of our party. We need to find Darcy and Enki, just so we can survive a little bit longer in this weird place. We find Darcy on that ridge and Enki in this little hole, and then we're ready to go and try to find Lagarde. This dark place is like a maze with areas repeating. Finally find an area that doesn't repeat. An area with the green hue, the creature coming out from under it. We find Sylvian, one of the old gods. As for the boss fight, Sylvian is kind of RNG dependent. She can entangle people and make them not be able to do anything. And if she focuses the player character, she can just kind of kill you if you're unlucky. You really want her to spread the damage out so you have a chance at being able to heal up during this fight. Sylvian has a lot of health, so you need all this extra time just to be able to destroy all her limbs. As for most boss fights, putting some sort of damage over time effect on Sylvian is very strong. So I did that early just so I get the extra damage. And then I focused down most of the tentacles, leaving one alive, so she'd only spam one of a few moves. Eventually, she starts growing this tumor. This tumor is dangerous. It can do a lot of damage. But before it fully grew, I ended up just focusing the body. And honestly, this attempt went pretty well, other than the fact that Darcy died. We did lose Darcy, but we ended up beating this boss fight after some grueling attempts. Just after Sylvian, we find Lagarde. He gives us a whole talk of how he's going to be the one true ruler for all humankind and how he's going to bring prosperity. Don't care, I'm gonna kill you. Hashtag not my god. Fight Lagarde like I fight most other bosses. First I poison him and then I just start wailing on him, seeing what happens. Instead of focusing on limbs, I'm just focusing on his body for this boss fight. Every once in a while he'll summon these asterisks that cast spells, which can be dangerous. I always kill those as soon as possible, and then I just continue smacking them. That's pretty much all there was to this boss fight. It was very easy. I did not have much trouble with this boss fight compared to others. After we defeat Lagarde, we wake up outside of the vile dungeon. In the end, we are haunted by lucid dreams of the dungeon of fear and hunger, so we will never truly escape its grasp. This is ending C, the Yellow King. This is the ending if you let Lagarde live. Lagarde lets you escape the dungeon. You return to normal life with the knowledge of the dungeon. This knowledge slowly leads you to a madness, as Lagarde unifies the Western world, not as a human, but a god. There is an ending if Gahara sits on the throne without Lagarde in your party, but in the end, you never escape the dungeon of fear and hunger. But enough of that. It's time for the big boy ending. It's time to jump in this boy's mouth. So I guess this mouth opened ever since we slashed up those 3 organs. Now it's time to jump in and do the final gauntlet. Once you enter this place, there's no going back. This is the real end game, baby. First challenge of the gauntlet is there's just a lot of traps. A lot of them have strange timings. I feel like some of them lag and they hit you even when it doesn't look like they're gonna hit you, but whatever. So just your main goal is just to get to the lever that opens the door to the next part of the gauntlet without getting screwed up too much by the traps. There also is a coin flip pitfall. If you don't pass this coin flip, you're pretty much screwed. You get into a fight with this guy here, the double-headed crow mauler. I managed to blind both of its faces in this fight, but it ended up blinding me as well, which makes the game not possible to really play. You can't see anything when you're blind in this game, if you get that condition. So yeah, I had to reset. Hopefully get farther next time. If we don't fall down that pitfall, we end up in this area. There's little spheres coming at us and these poison smoke shooting at us. Also just trying to dodge enemies. It's kind of wild. At this point, we're trying our hardest not to get poisoned, so we have the highest chance possible to get to the boss. If you get poisoned, it sets all your health to 1 for every character. I have enough supplies at this point where it doesn't matter, but it is annoying having to re-up your health. After we do a little loop-de-loop and we dodge some enemies, we make it to the final area of the gauntlet. We fully heal ourselves and we're ready for the final battle. This is Grogroth. In my opinion, the hardest boss fight in this game. If you get unlucky, it kind of can just wipe you if you're not like fully prepared. You notice he did Whispers of Grogroth on me, which means that if I don't beat him in 5 turns, my main character will die, so gotta do that fast. My main strategy for this fight is to knock out the eyes as fast as possible. I believe they let him do different magics and whatnot, and I end up poisoning him and just whacking him as much as I possibly can. And it seems to do pretty well. And he kind of dies immediately, but we're chunking him with damage every single turn. We're on turn 2, doing 1300 damage. I think that was a crit there from Darcy. Doing a lot of damage. One more laser, I'm pretty sure my party will get wiped, so I'm just going to keep smacking him. And we're getting my arm lashed off. 30 health. And then we just kill him with a tick of poison damage. I think we beat him in 2 or 3 cycles. Grogroth asks why we resist. You crush? I am nothing but a shell, a fraction of the traces that is left of Grogroth. Yet even I could crush you in this very moment. The older gods, they do not even exist in this world anymore. The older gods are too pure for this world. They are the true forms of the feelings and ideas that linger in men. But humans are too tainted by their own mind and ambition to understand purity. Think of the perfect shape of fear and destruction. Now take a look at the world that you delve. Do you see that shape? The shape could never exist among men, because the shape varies between every human. If you could truly see the shape everyone shares, it would shatter the individual mind and existence. Humans are weak. I can reveal the true form, glimpses of it. Oh, you thought I was done? This one is for the true fans, the ones sticking to the end and watch the video. So, if you bring the little girl down here to Grogroth, something interesting happens. Instead of seeing Grogroth, the little girl has a reaction. She starts turning into a creature. A god, even. Jokes aside, she's kind of messed up right now. As we fight the little girl, she is fairly weak. But in each passing moment, her form gets more grotesque. Keep smacking her, until finally she reaches her final form. The final form of the god of fear and hunger. After a while of swinging, we are finally victorious. The god of fear and hunger acknowledges our suffering